Hey, this is Greg, and welcome to the Essential Oils for Healing Neurological Lyme Disease case study. We're going to be talking today about an in-depth case study of someone with neurological Lyme and co-infections, and what are the essential oils and other remedies and treatments that help this person to recover, and really had a very significant, almost miraculous like recovery. So my first question, or my first thing is, we're going to be using the Facebook discussion because it's having some problems with the Zoom chat. So I'm going to post the link in the chat. So if you can go to that, if you're able to, and post your questions and comments in there. So my first question is, can you hear me? And post that in there. That would be great. I will love to make sure you guys can hear. All righty. Let's see. Okay, in the discussion. All right, you can hear me. All right. So next thing is, I'd love to hear if you want to share your name and where you're from, that would be great. So please let me know that in the Facebook group also, and I'll love to just see how far and wide this training is affecting people. Okay, so looks like here we've got Anne Marie from Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome. And Dixie from West Virginia. Hi, Dixie. Love your name. I have a good friend with that name. And Cindy from Wisconsin. Stephanie from Pompano Beach. Glenda from Florida. All righty. So where else are people from? Shelly from Toronto. And Kim from Brooklyn. Hey. Okay. So Jessica from Santa Barbara, Verena from Massachusetts, and Heidi from Canada. Okay, hi, Irene from New York, and Sharon from West Virginia, Mamie from California, Clint from Panama. Wow, I think you're probably the furthest person away. Hi, Clint. Ellie from North Carolina, Scott from California. Hey, Scott, good to have you on. And Jackie from Ohio, Colleen from Minnesota, Cindy from Palo Alto, and Brigitte from Denmark, hope I said that correctly, and Jeanette from New Jersey. Okay, so let's see if I can look on here, and who else is on Facebook? Verena from Amherst, and Julie from Sacramento. Mary from Melbourne, and another Mary from the Netherlands. All right, we're getting some good people in Europe. That's awesome. Jamie in Westminster, a local person. Hey, Gary from Poughkeepsie. Righty, and let's see, anywhere else? Okay, that's like Dan from Georgia. Hey, Dixie, good to see you. Oh. This is my good friend Dixie. Again, Mary from Florida, Adrian from New Brunswick, and Jane from Australia, Amsterdam, and Panama. Wow. So we have a lot of stuff to cover here. I'm just going to check the Facebook group to see if there's anyone else that I'd like to, who has joined us. It's like Helen from Florida, Lynn from Houston. Welcome everyone. Great to have you on. So again, we're using the Facebook group because there are some with people on the phone. It was hard; they couldn't use the Zoom webinar chat, so we're using the Facebook discussion. And I sent the link out with the emails, and also I'll post that in the chat. We're going to be using that for the bonus questions we'll have just in a little bit. So, all right. So let's get going here. what are we going to do today? We're going to talk about a little bit about my background, and if you've been on before, then you've heard a little bit of that. And what's the big question with healing neurological Lyme? What are some of the challenges? And then we'll have the bonus question where you can try to be the first one to answer the question correctly, and you'll win a cold laser, and essential oils that we use just like in the treatment room with our patients. And then we'll kind of go over an overview of essential oils and also other remedies and treatments for stopping neurological Lyme. We'll go into an in-depth case study. We'll get questions. We'll talk about the second bonus, and then also a training opportunity for practitioners who really want to help people heal neurological Lyme. We'll be sharing some really effective tools and treatments for practitioners and people who want to share that to help others with those remedies. Again, no grants, no industry funding. I'm not a paid consultant. I'm not on any directory boards or whatever, just me and two frogs. All right, again, here's a link. Submit your questions and feedback for the bonus. A little bit about me. I grew up in Maryland. My parents are actually born in the States, and the grandparents came over from China and Korea. And as a kid, I grew up watching NASA astronauts fly around, land on the moon, and so that was very exciting, and that totally appealed to me. And so I was a member of the chess club, and I liked math, and I would do math problems, and so I was very much a geek. And one of the things that I found out while going to school at University of Maryland was that there was a NASA installation nearby, and so I took a class with one of the instructors and asked him if he could get me a job there, and he got me a job there. It was awesome. So there, worked on robotics. Some robots are as big, they could lift up cars. They were simulating the robotic arm on the space shuttle and the Hubble Space Telescope. I worked modeling the ozone hole and also climate modeling over the whole world. So really, some really exciting, projects to really help people and get more information so they could hopefully make better decisions about taking care of our planet and the people on it. Also, for a while, I was a partner in a company called Lionheart, where we did leadership training, management consulting. I also received a master's degree of acupuncture and a Chinese herbal certification, and also took a training and got a certification as a master Sufi healer. And now we have a clinic in Frederick, Maryland called Two Frogs Healing Center. And over the past 18 years, we've treated many hundreds of people with Lyme and co-infections, mold, autoimmune illness, multiple sclerosis, neurological problems. And so we use some acupuncture herbalist. I am not versed in drugs or do anything with drugs. And since in the beginning we used to use protocols, but the people we found had done most of the protocols already, so we needed to be even better or find things that the protocols weren't addressing. So we ended up customizing our remedies and treatments for each individual. And one way that we do that is we look at what are the genetics going on that affect how well a person can detoxify, and that's called the 23andMe. And there's an analysis that's done from that data, because that's a lot of information, and that helps us to determine, what remedies and supplements may help them to detoxify faster. We use something called an electrodermal scan. This is FDA approved for galvanic skin response, and it takes frequencies and then checks the person's response to those frequencies. So frequencies of, say, Lyme or Babesia bartonella, Mycoplasma, Ehrlichia, brucellosis, et cetera, parasites, fungi. So we look at over 400 different things and try to get a picture of what are the major infections, and kind of gives a rating, which one's the strongest and mid-range and least. And then also using different remedies out of Chinese medicine, acupuncture, cupping and bloodletting. That's what you see in the picture here, is a woman getting bloodletting through cupping. Also using cold laser, we use that with the essential oils. We put the essential oils in front of the laser, and it really amplifies and enhances the healing effect of the laser by using the frequencies of the oil. You shine it through the oil, the frequencies, and goes into the patient. and very significant for helping clear neurological symptoms, pain relief, reducing inflammation, dealing with issues in, deeper in the organs, like in the gut, in the brain. And so also we use something called moxibustion, where you actually take herb and burn it on people and take it off before it, harms them, but it releases, it's an artemisia, so it releases antimicrobial compounds when you burn it into the person, and also helps reduce inflammation and pain symptoms. Something called microcurrent, which are low-level electrical frequencies to neutralize toxins, reduce inflammation, zap infections, promote healing. So it's kind of like a very useful, wide-ranging tool. And I'm really looking forward to the next generation microcurrent units that are coming out, that are becoming available now, because they're very powerful and very, much easier to use. Low light therapy, so using LED lights that have certain frequencies that help detoxify, that help promote healing, that increase cellular energy, ATP, and also divine energy healing, helping to clear the bad energies, bad spirits in patients. And when it comes to remedies, one of the things that I was frustrated with, that patients had these recurring symptoms in their nervous system and their joints, and I throw tons of herbs and tons of stuff at them, and some of them get better and some didn't. And I thought, I'm just not getting in there deep enough. And then I learned about making liposomal remedies from Dietrich Klinghardt, and how to take herbs, essential oils that are organic, wild crafted, those are the main ones we use, and also supplements, and putting them into this very small micronized particle that's surrounded with fat called lecithin. And when you do that, it goes deeper into the tissues, it goes deeper into the nervous system, into the cells where these bugs are hiding, or where toxins are stuck. And it helps to get those out of the hiding places, and therefore reduce symptoms that are not responding, say, to other kinds of treatments or remedies. We also use bee venom. Bee venom is a really powerful anti-Lyme, Mycoplasma, Babesia remedy. It is one of the best things for helping the nervous system to clear out stubborn infections. And then also we use German biological homeopathic remedies that are targeted to specific infections like Lyme, Babesia, Bartonella, like the tick-borne infections, and also like other things like viral infections that many patients have, Epstein-Barr, cytomegalovirus, and so on. And then as you're kind of on this training, we also do this kind of training for practitioners, which I'll talk about at the end of today, because my passion, and a lot of the people who have, like hundreds of people have said, there aren't enough practitioners out there who know about this. Please share what please train them. So this is my way of saying, hey, okay, you have practitioners, let them know about this. It can help and help patients a lot. So that's why I'm doing this. So the big question is, how can essential oils help with healing a person with neurological Lyme disease, what in Chinese medicine they call Gu syndrome? Righty. So what we're going to do is explore that in depth through a case study. So here, I'm just going to run through some history. Grew up in the country on the East Coast, multiple tick bites, and then for the past 20 years, never felt 100%. Always had some lingering kind of symptoms, or something would go wrong in terms of getting sick or getting the flu or a cold, or just like not feeling 100%. And then 8 years ago, he was diagnosed with Lyme and different co-infections, and tried multiple herbal protocols. And to get a drink of water, pardon me. And tried also many do-it-yourself treatments, Rife machine, salt, vitamin C supplements, and worked with several Lyme doctors. Some of the ones are the ones that have, seen thousands of people in their practice, thousands of patients, treated with multiple rounds of oral antibiotics. And after 4 years of antibiotics and do-it-yourself treatments, he felt about 70% normal. And then he had a symptom flare-up, which is pretty common for many of the people I see, and was flat out, couldn't function for 2 weeks. And that really, it's scared him, because it's like he's a leader in his profession, and having that much time out was really a significant concern to being able to keep his job. And so tried different things, kept getting a little better, but actually more worse. So he'd get better, a little better, but then he'd have another flare up, and then bam, he'd be out longer. And then eventually one flare took 4 weeks to recover, and that was really like not acceptable, and motivated him to go and seek out treatment. And the things that were the biggest concern was fuzzy thinking, because something's going on with my brain, and fatigue, and also just being out for weeks at a time. He was concerned about keeping his job, and all the things he tried, all the doctors he went to, all the specialists. He was depressed because he wasn't seeing the progress that he wanted. And then he had this buzzing sensation in his head. It was very distracting. Weight gain, coldness in extremities, sleep disturbance. Now, are any of these symptoms things that that you're experiencing? Go ahead and put a yes, or put the symptom in the group, and because that'd be interesting to see. Because what are the kind of things that we're seeing in you guys that you're kind of wanting to, maybe get insight into how to treat in terms of neurological issues. Also, sleep, sleep disturbance, yeah. So, okay. So it looks like we have sleep issues, fuzzy thinking, ice pick headaches, and then buzzing sensation also. Let's see, what else is on here? Brain fog, depression, numbness, tingling of the face, sense of internal motion, then fuzzy thinking again. Let's see, what else? All right, fatigue, memory loss, brain fog. Okay. All right. So, there's lots of neurological symptoms that are difficult for people. And so hopefully that what we'll be sharing about today will be helpful in giving you some insights into what may be helpful for you guys. Okay, so another thing was frequent urination, chest tightness. Okay, so as we know from research, there are over 60 different infections that can be transmitted by tick bites, parasites, bacteria, viruses, fungi, tick-borne infections. And so looking at his labs shows low to normal hormone levels, positive Lyme Western blot, and Lyme doctors clinically diagnosed him with Babesia Bartonella and also fibromyalgia. Great. Tinnitus, night sweats also, or some of the other symptoms. So that's kind of a lot of range of neurological and other symptoms. So he was on Wellbutrin, Ambien, for sleep, Doxepin, garlic, vitamin D, milk thistle, magnesium. Now, a lot of my patients, they're on a combination of prescription and also supplements. Many of them may have like a 1 or 2 page list of things that they're on. Okay, so when we look at these patients that have also, done lots of different things, how can we get some insight into the underlying issues that will hopefully find out and address them? So one of the things we use is a paradigm called Goose syndrome. It's almost 2,000-year-old system that they use for treating multiple chronic infections, parasitic, viral, malaria, way back in China. And so we also look at, as I mentioned, looking at what's going on with the detoxification genetics, and then also what are some Western research on different remedies, supplements, herbs, essential oils, and what infections they may be helpful against, or what ways they help the body to detoxify, reduce inflammation, and heal. So again, I'm going to go in a little detail about this, but that'll help with the case study analysis. So doctors, when they read these ancient Chinese medical texts, doctors are confused by these multiple chronic infections or goo pathologies. They're malicious and life-threatening. There are thousands of goo toxins, all of which cause different symptoms, which is why you may see in some people, they have a symptom in their shoulder one day, and the next it's over in their hip, or then in their brain, or they have a great day, and then they crash the next day, because you have all these toxins that stimulate inflammation, and this is kind of this waxing and waning thing where symptoms like pop out or move around or recur. A lot of that, I believe, is due to this changing toxin inflammatory compounds that are just inside the person. And then they made the analogy of these toxins in a person are like oil that seeped in a flour. It's very difficult to separate them out. You ever cooked? I used to make pancakes at a pancake house, and when you mix them together, no way you're going to get the oil and flour mixed, separated. And they talk about these things operate in the dark. And when you think about the dark, it's not just the darkness you can't see visible light, but also it could be, when I interpret that, the interpretations of the writings are like the unconscious, or places that are maybe hidden by traumatic injury. They're just encapsulated, or trying to do its best to wall off something. And they describe these things as thriving parasites, creating organ decay and pain and insanity. And also translated as demon syndrome, like you're being beset by demons, and they're really affecting you. Treatment can take 3 to 5 years or longer, and as a result, some of these treatments are actually for expelling demons or bad spirits out of the body. So basically, the treatment strategy from the goo perspective is, instead of like going after immediately and killing the bugs, you want to clear out the things that are causing the symptoms first, because if the person's already too toxic and too inflamed, you start killing the bugs, you're going to create more toxicity, more inflammation, and more symptoms. As many people know through having Herxheimer reactions or watching people they know go through this, it's really can be a very like torturous or painful experience. So we want to, as practitioners, and well, not everybody, but as practitioners especially, to really help our patients to get better and also address the underlying issues. If a person feels better, they're going to have more hope and more, they're going to be able to take the remedies and go through the treatments and things like that. So, and as they're dealing with these multiple infections, the toxins, inflammation, they deplete the energy, the adrenals, the thyroid, the mitochondrial energy, and that would correspond to what's called qi and jing in Chinese medicine. And a lot of people have co-infections that destroy their blood cells, like Babesia and Bartonella, so they get anemic, so you need to replenish the blood. And then yin is kind of like cooling, and yang is kind of like warming. So many patients may have a really low body temperature of like 95 degrees. They need more yang warming energy. Or some people come in and they're like, it's 30 degrees out and they're in their short sleeve shirt because they're so hot. They're burning up. So they need more cooling, more moistening, more yin. It really depends, what each person needs, and tailoring the treatments and remedies to give it to them. And then moving the pain and neurological symptoms out. That's what we're going to focus on a lot of today, is what helps with neurological symptoms. And then calming the emotions and the spirit, because, dealing with this, it's like having this attack, all these irritants in a person. It's going to upset them emotionally. It's going to affect their, belief and spiritual beliefs. So if there's a way to support and calming out those uncomfortable emotions and help them to perhaps connect to a deeper spiritual support, then that will help them in their healing. And then also, once the person's feeling better, they're stronger, and they can detoxify, then killing the infections. So you're not making them feel worse, but they can handle the die-off, they can handle the inflammation, and they can start to dump it out as fast as it's being produced. That's when you see people who have increasing function versus like these roller coaster, like, oh, they feel better and they crash, and they feel better and they crash. Our goal is to help people to get increasingly functional and to minimize that, crashing and increase the functioning. And then one of the things they talk about is dampness in Chinese medicine. They didn't have biofilms way back then, but that's the analogy to biofilms, which is basically slime that they hide in to protect themselves. And that's one of the reasons why they believe that, these infections to become 1,000 times more drug resistant these days. And then they also like to hide in the brain, hide inside cells, hide in cartilage. So how do you craft remedies to get into those areas, to get them out? Because you kill off all the ones that are outside the hiding places, then you stop treatment, then they come out again, and they infect and create relapse of symptoms all over again. Then you're almost back to square one. Let's see if we can find a way to get in and clean these hiding places out so the things don't relapse. And then anything about restoring healthy functioning of the different systems of the body. So that's kind of the in a nutshell, the straight treatment strategy, or one of the treatment strategies that we use here. I'm going to take a drink of water, pardon me. Okay, and the last thing is clearing bad spirits and invoking divine healing. Because if you have these people who often will say to me words like, I'm not myself, something's gotten in me, I don't know who I am anymore. Those are often the kind of text, the classical quotes that you hear 2,000 years ago about people who've been invaded by or affected by these bad spirits, demons, things like that. So those things also, those energies, we also, if a person is open to it, we work with them clearing those things out too. So this is, we're going to focus today on essential oils today. And they are great remedies. We love them. They've been used for decades in the West to keep our food supply safe and to help also cut down on pathogens in crops and, in the environment and agriculture. So there's lots of research out there that's really awesome. And we look at that pretty much, daily. To see if there's new remedies, treatments that can help our patients. And so we use, again, organic or wild-crafted sources, or oils made from organic and wild-crafted sources only. And then also, let's see, talk about that. And there's a whole classification by the FDA as generally recognized as safe. So you can use them at certain levels, and that's relatively safe. And so that's been approved for use in our food supplies. And they have different compounds in them. One of them is phenols, which are like solvents that cut through biofilms. Another are terpenes, which are antimicrobial. There's sequosterpenes, monoterpenes, which have many different, they may be antifungal, antiparasitic, anti-lyme, bacterial. And some of them have, many of these EOs have multiple properties because they have multiple compounds in them. And one great thing about them is they're highly volatile. It means that they can penetrate deeply into the body. You put a little on your foot, and less than a second later, you can measure it in the head because they'll go through the body, which makes it much more effective at getting into the reservoirs, the cartilage, inside the cells, the nervous system, and beginning to clean out those areas. And also, many of them reduce toxins. One of the big things is the Herxheimer reaction in patients. When their infections die off, they release things called endotoxins, and some release exotoxins. And the fungal infections release mycotoxins. And so many of these reduce the inflammatory effects of these endotoxins in the system, and some of them, in different studies, reduce the production of these toxins. Okay, and again, they're FDA generally recognized as safe. And with our patients, we apply them topically. We have patients put them under their tongue, especially if the nervous system infections, they put on their tongue, it begins to diffuse right into the nervous system. Internally, they can put them in a capsule. We put them also into what's called a liposome, which I'm going to talk a little bit about. which is a small particle that is wrapped up again with the lipid, and that goes deeper in the cells, deeper into the hiding places. They can do them rectally, they can do them vaginally, we can, again, put them in front of the laser, and then also can diffuse them in the environment. And when you do them internally, you have a much greater absorption, much greater delivery of the essential oil remedy into the person versus topical, because a lot of it will evaporate out because of the difference between air and your tissues. Okay, let's have a laser bonus question. Okay, so what you need to do is to get into Facebook. I'm putting and put your answer there. The first person with the correct answer will win a laser and essential oils, same ones that we use in our clinic. All right, there's a discussion, there's a tab. Okay, let's see. All right, the first question is, this is a pretty easy one if you're paying attention. So, for how many years have we been seeing patients with Lyme disease? I talked about that in the introduction. So go ahead, see who the first person is, and you will win one of the laser kits. Okay. And looks like I have it looks like we have Leslie has the right answer, I think. All right, awesome. And the answer is 18. Awesome. So we'll have one more chance at the end of today, and you need to put your answer into the Facebook link that I put in there and be the first person to answer it. That was kind of an easy one. The next one is going to be a little more complex, so you got to pay attention to some of the remedies, some of the essential oils I'll be talking about, and you could win one of these. This is awesome because this has been a game changer for a lot of our patients, and many of our patients will take them home and use them on themselves. All right, so one of the tools we use is electrodermal scan to develop a health hypothesis of a patient. And so what we found in our scan of this patient was neurological Lyme disease, we call goose syndrome. Not only that, but he also had infections in his sinuses, in his tonsils, and also in his gut of strep and staph. And when you have infections in your sinuses, they produce toxins that then go get absorbed into the nervous system and can create neurological issues. So that is another thing that needs to be addressed to create healing in the nervous system. Coxsackie virus, brucellosis, which is a bacterial infection that's similar to Bartonella. And one of the unique signature symptoms is that the patient who has this, their sweat smells like wet hay. Sleep disruption, but we reported that in the beginning. Anxiety and elevated ammonia levels. A lot of infections that are called, some are called hyperammonia producing bacteria, and Lyme also has been known to increase ammonia levels. And if a person's genetics are lacking the certain specific genes, then they can accumulate ammonia. That tends to affect the nervous system and create brain fog, confusion, difficulty with memory. So part of that's one of the things we look for, especially with neurological Lyme cases. Gut issues, because a lot of these hyperammonia producing bacteria live in the gut, and the ammonia just goes up into the nervous system. So one of the things that we picked was Clostridia. That's one of the big concerns that many of my Lyme doc colleagues is having drug-resistant Clostridia difficile in their patients, because as we may be hearing more and more about these drug-resistant infections, we need more tools to help people who just aren't responding or have these drug-resistant infections. Anxiety, emotional issue. So we're going to look at how do we use essential oils to help people with neurological Lyme. So we customize it to each person. We don't do protocols. And so, again, these have multiple properties for addressing multiple issues that happen to affect the nervous system, the gut, the whole system. And then what we do is we test through the scan what are the oils that may be most effective with the patient, and then also test individual oils with each person. We do something called a Chinese pulse diagnosis, where you listen to the pulses and how they change in response to different remedies. It's kind of like muscle testing times 9, because you're getting 9 different inputs that correspond to, say, to the liver, the kidneys, the intestines, and how these different systems may be affected by these oils. So you get a little more feedback than just muscle testing. But muscle testing is great. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying I'm just trained in pulse diagnosis, so that's what I use, and electrodermal scanning. So July 2014, we came up with a customized essential oil formula of bergamot. FCF is fucomarin rectified. It means that the fucomarin, which is makes a person photosensitive, or it can be phototoxic, that's taken out, so it makes the bergamot much easier to use, less toxic or non-toxic. Benzoin, black cumin seed, carrot seed, cinnamon bark, cistus, clary sage, eucalyptus globulus. And I'm going to be going in and explaining what are the different properties of these different oils, why we use them. So we're sitting there with each individual and testing the pulse with each, probably about 50 different oils, and finding what are the ones that are optimal responders on the pulse, and also with the scan. Fir needle, Siberian, hyssop, juniper berry, lemongrass, sweet orange, oregano, rosemary, and spearmint. And if you've been on other trainings, you may notice, hey, I recognize some of those oils. And so we're going to go into what properties they have. So let's now analyze the formula. So we have toxins and inflammation, are one of the main first things to deal with when you're dealing with a goose syndrome strategy. So the oils that of the list there that help with reducing fatigue, concentration difficulties, anxiety, depression, buzzing in the head, and also with fear by reducing the toxins, the endotoxins and other toxins. Black cumin seed, cinnamon bark, eucalyptus globulus. Eucalyptus globulus is like one of the ones I use most often. Lemongrass, sweet orange, oregano, and spearmint. And different lab animal studies, these things have these antitoxin, anti-inflammatory properties. Excuse me, I want to take a drink. And then one of the main detoxifiers that our body produces is glutathione. And fortunately, there's a lot of research on what oils increase glutathione production, or glutathione precursors in the body. And so there's 2 that we found. There's more than this, but these are the 2, black cumin seed and juniper, are in his formula that help increase that, or at least that's part of the intention of helping with detoxifying through increasing glutathione. And then also the liver is one of the main essential organs for detoxifying. So we want to protect it, because the more functional, the more protected it is, the better the person's going to be able to detoxify. So black cumin seed, oregano, and rosemary have liver protecting properties. There's a term I talked about when I talk about with biofilms called dampness, and there are oils that actually drain dampness out of the body, and you want to drain the dampness, kind of like that head cold, foggy feeling, out of the nervous system. So you drain the dampness out of the brain, and the oils for that are carrot seed, cinnamon bark, eucalyptus globulus, fir, and hyssop. And these really can help with people who have that fuzzy thinking. And then also he had fatigue, so we want to help replenish his energy, and these are oils that help replenish energy. And Chinese medicine, cinnamon bark, cistus, clary sage, fir needle, Siberian, and rosemary. Rosemary is great, especially if you have symptoms that are kind of stuck. It acts kind to help release things out. It's kind of like an opener. That's one of the ways I think of it. And also replenish blood when you have like coldness. That's all can affect fuzzy thinking, fatigue, in sleep disturbance, chest tightness, anxiety are all symptoms that can be associated with blood issues in Chinese medicine. So the oils we used in this person, carrot seed, cinnamon bark, lemongrass, and hyssop. So you're noticing that a lot of these have many properties that go across anything from replenishing to reducing toxicity, and you'll see more when we get to the antimicrobial properties. So these are ones that definitely help with the nervous system in our patients, or we use to help the nervous system. So we tested him for many, many, many different oils, and including things like oregano and stuff, but he didn't test as positively for that. So we tend to just make note of that, but only use the ones that a person tests most optimally for, because that way we're minimizing, we hope, any side effects or reactivity with an okay oil. We want only the best ones. And since we have such a big library of oils that we test from, then that gives us a lot of options. So replenishing yin, it could also be affecting sleep disturbance, frequent urination, could be what's called a yin disorder. So carrot seed, clary sage are things that help replenish that and address those symptoms. And then yang for anxiety, sorry, got cut off, and depression, and then coldness in the extremities. So you may know people who have something called Raynaud symptoms, or you shake their hand, that's always like a cold, or they have, toes that are always look blue and they're freezing to the touch. So that's can happen, especially when you have these people who have toxic and biotoxins in their system, that those small little capillaries in the extremities get kind of blocked up with these hypercoagulation or thick blood compounds, and they get cold. So these are ones that help replenish yang or warming: benzoin, hyssop, juniper, lemongrass, and also coldness in extremities. I think cinnamon bark should be in here, but for some reason it's not, because that's one great one for also warming. I'll add that next time. And then the antimicrobials. So now we've kind of gone through the first couple stages of the Goose syndrome strategy, and now we're saying, okay, now we're kind of helping to clean out the person and detoxify and deal with the symptoms. What is going to address the infections? So we have cinnamon bark, cistus, and sweet orange for the Lyme. And then using lemongrass as an anti-babesia, and also bergamot and oregano also have anti-protozoal properties to hopefully help with cutting down that. And then brucellosis, cinnamon bark, and oregano. Oh yeah, he did have oregano in his. There's this particular one called Oregano syriacus that has been studied to inhibit brucellosis in, I think, a study on PubMed. So that helps with that. And Coxsackie virus oregano essential oil. And then also dealing with the biofilms, the slime that they hide in that keeps them from being, totally cleaned out. Cinnamon bark, sweet orange cuts through the Lyme biofilm. And then other anti-biofilms, whether it be like Pseudomonas or other biofilms. There's bergamot, Eucalyptus globulus, lemongrass, spearmint. They cut through other ones. Because under a biofilm, you can have multiple different infections, and so they can clear out not just the Lyme ones, but other ones too. So let's go into liposomals. Why are they so valuable? Why do I think they're so valuable? Why are they make a difference in patients that have been on herbs and herbs and herbs, and then we give them liposomal equivalents of the same herbs, and there's a marked difference in their symptom improvement. So liposome, little picture here of a model of one, or the red represents like the remedy. Could be a drug, it could be a supplement, an herb, and in this case, this patient received essential oils and other remedies in liposomes. And on the outside, the little like wiggly things, they're not spirochetes, that's the modeling of a fat or lipid. We use lecithin. And so the one great thing about it is this outer covering is like food to your cells, because it's made of phosphatidylcholine, and that helps rebuild different aspects of your cells, but also germs like to eat lipids because it nourishes them too. So they see the stuff and they go, oh, great, I can eat this, stuff. But inside is the nasty surprise, kind of like a Trojan horse. So that's what we find in looking at research, where they've done research on essential oils, they've done research on drugs, they've done research on liposomal herbs, and how they have a much greater inhibition of, cutting down and treating infections, and also reducing inflammatory compounds and penetrating biofilms. So we can penetrate more deeply, target the hiding infections in the different areas in the cells. And so that's why we use them, because most of our patients, many of them been struggling for years, and as a result, our theory is that their infections have gotten deeper and deeper. And we need to get in there, get them out. So we gave our patient different remedies. We gave him multiple liposomal remedies that we make here for our patients. Took all those essential oils that we talked about in the analysis and put that into a liposome. We gave him glutathione, vitamin C, for detoxification and reducing inflammation. And then a brain remedy using different supplements and herbs to help with restoring the central nervous system function and also for sleep. And I'm going to kind of go into an explanation of the brain remedy a little bit. And then also one to help replenish mitochondrial energy, because many medications actually deplete mitochondrial energy. And so there's certain supplements that help replenish it. And also, there's certain herbs that have like a Jing nourishing property. So here we're going to look into this brain remedy. There's a supplement called huperzine. It's made from something called Chinese club moss, and that helps with memory cognition. It's used actually as in some Alzheimer's studies and helped increase, decrease their Alzheimer's symptoms. And it also increases acetylcholine so neurons can work better. There's something called kava kava that helps with sleep and reducing anxiety. There's Centella asiatica, gotu kola, is a Chinese and Ayurvedic herb that also helps with reducing uncomfortable emotions and increasing the brain's ability to remember things and figure things out, and increases circulation. And it's also been used in different Alzheimer's studies. Curcumin, anti-inflammatory, antiprotozoal, reduces emotional anxiety. And then uridine, which is another supplement for memory cognition, increases dopamine, CDP-choline synthesis. That's something that helps replenish your brain cells. And then when he first came in, he kind of scored like, how are your, he has a whole list of symptoms, but these are the ones that stood out the most. Headache, 6 out of 10, mental fog, 7 out of 10. And over multiple office visits, he had a lot of issues in his nervous system, anxiety, depression, overwhelm, emotional stuff going on, and a very low energy level. So being an acupuncturist, I did acupuncture on him, and there's these different treatments that increase the ability to detoxify. One of them you do them in the ear, another one done on the wrist. And so also we offer something called frequency-specific microcurrent. These are low-level electrical frequencies. It has frequencies for inhibiting infections, detoxifying. And the great thing about it is you can say, hey, I want to detoxify, bacterial toxins, and also say where, so midbrain, and you put those frequencies together and it affects those specific areas. So you can go all the way down to like blood cells, all the way up to the whole body and everywhere in between, like the brain or the midbrain or the intestines, the liver, the gallbladder. And you can also do things that not only inhibit infection, detoxify, reduce inflammation, but they also strengthen. They also tonify and replenish. And also they have frequency for reducing biofilms too. So what we do is we create this custom program based upon what we feel are the major issues from the symptoms, the labs, the scan, and then create that custom thing to begin to take those most urgent pressing issues and reduce them. Wet cupping, bloodletting. I had a picture earlier about someone getting that. That really helps when they've analyzed the blood coming out of wet cupping. It's high in toxins, high in inflammatory compounds, and high in blood coagulation, things like fibrin. And after patients get that, they often feel like, wow, I feel like I had concrete just lifted out of my veins, or they come in feeling all depressed and hopeless and come out afterwards saying, I could run a marathon now. There's just this often dramatic change, not only physically, but emotionally, that can happen with many patients with cupping. And then also we have a LED that was developed at MIT that's put in the nose that pulses at 10 times a second. And it's actually used for traumatic brain injury and Parkinson's treatment. And that really helps detoxify the brain and nourish ATP, cellular energy in the nervous system. One of the things, since he had this central nervous system infections, he got to snort bee venom. Again, it has a compound, a peptide called melatonin, which inhibits Lyme, Mycoplasma, Babesia. And so that often creates a big Herxheimer reaction in the nervous system, which can be uncomfortable and painful, which is then why we do the cupping, to suck the inflammation and toxins and stuff that gets produced as a result. So we always do those pretty much together. The microcurrent helps also. And then also something called moxibustion. We take a little herb and you light it, and that helps deliver anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial compounds when you burn it, and also obviously taking off before it damages the skin. And then also cold lasering, using different remedies in front of the laser into the beam that goes into the ear, and that helps the nervous system to get these frequencies that some patients can actually feel, like things like changing and shifting in their brain fog, in their like thick, muddy feeling in their head. And then also something called magnet therapy. We use different magnets, and there's different acupuncture points where you do them on, and that can help with increasing brain function. Foot detox, you put your feet in the water that has ionic or charged particles in it, and that helps those with detoxing. There's no scientific evidence that it works, but many of my patients feel a difference and they feel better as a result. Especially some of my patients that have interstitial cystitis, they respond well to that. And then also there's this system called Evox, which you speak into this microphone. It records kind of the sound and maps it onto an octave, and then plays back frequencies to help address the underlying emotional issues, like the anxiety, depression in his case. So he also received the supplements for clearing neurological infections, detoxifying the brain. So he got detoxification spray to help the nervous system. Again, bee venom, snorting that, thymus support supplement. And then he also got not only the essential oils in a liposome, but also got them in with a carrier oil that he could take them sublingually, and those would then help clear out the infections and biofilms in the sinuses, especially because you do them here, they diffuse rather quickly into the sinuses. And many patients report doing that helps them to sleep more deeply at night. And the theory is you clean out the bugs in the, brain, nervous system, sinuses, they're going to produce less toxins, you're going to sleep better. And then also one thing that patients will do is take, with some patients, frankincense resin and burn that at night. That releases the compounds and they can inhale that, and that also gets it deeper into the nervous system. And more people people have reported more energy and mental clarity as a result of doing that. Okay, so at home he did the LED and the frankincense, and then after 4 weeks, his headache went from 6 to 0, mental fog went from 7 to 0, memory problems went from 6 to 0, anxiety went from 7 to 0, depression 7 to 0, stress overwhelm 8 to 0, fear worry 8 to 0, and then inability to multitask from 8 to 0. And energy level went from 25% to 75%. That's like, whoa, what happened to this guy? There were times when he'd be out for 4 weeks, afraid that he's going to get fired, all this stuff. So these is a very complex program. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of things we're trying to address. But by doing this, all these different things, it can create results that are sometimes pretty amazing. Now, not everybody is going to have this response, but it is possible. So no guarantees, but the intention is there to help everyone get healed as quickly as possible, and still needs medication to get into a deeper sleep state. Again, mid-August, symptoms are 0, energy goes up from 75 to 85%. So he's maintaining the progress. It's not just a woohoo, I felt better and boom, but it's like, okay, we're continuing to increase the functionality, how the person's getting better. And then not afraid of losing his job. His mind is able to go at 100 miles per hour instead of like 20 miles an hour. So he feels like he can think much faster, much greater ability to deal with the challenges of work and life and all that. Okay. Treatments. Again, did more acupuncture, microcurrent, more cupping. And then also continued with the remedies that he was taking. And then also continued with the essential oils, sublingual and topical on his symptoms. So he would do them under his tongue and also on his head when he needed them. Okay. And again, September, he's still 0. Energy level feels like it's 100%. And one of the comments that he made was, I feel better than even before I had Lyme. I mean, it was like, because he said for 20 years, he felt like, there was always just something that wasn't 100%. And he felt like, wow, I mean, it's possible to feel, this good and this, healthy. It was very dramatic for him. Again, more of the same stuff, acupuncture, microcurrent, cupping, and then dealing with the emotional stuff. And then we changed up his remedies. We tested him for different things, phosphatidylserine, Melissa essential oil, sunflower lecithin, to help with the further healing of the nervous system. And then in October, we did another electrodermal scan and found that his immune system had a major improvement, just, slightly off, which was, great. A little bit of liver dysfunction that was affecting his thyroid. Still some remaining brainstem inflammation. Still some remaining infections in the sinus, tonsils, and intestines. And then kind of like a stealthy forms of Lyme. One of the things that we look for is what are not only the active infections, but what are all the stealthy things that we want to get to and get out so they don't come back later. And then also, one of the things was his nervous system was a little too active at night, which is disrupting his sleep. Again, we did more acupuncture, microcurrent, cupping, and then we came up with a new formula of essential oils to address, because he was much better. He didn't need all that stuff, so take him off a lot of the stuff he doesn't need. But what else is going to help address still the remaining issues? So we came up with this formula through the testing and scanning. Cardamom helps with reducing dampness, healing intestines. Also, in some, the herb is actually an antiprotozoal, antimalarial. Roman chamomile, calming the central nervous system, helping with sleep, and also helps with increased liver function. Cypress, draining dampness, inflammation. Fennel for healing the intestines. Because one of the things that is that in your intestines, in your gut, you produce 40% of your neurotransmitters. So if your gut is off, it's definitely going to affect your nervous system. It's almost like you have this gut-brain connection. Well, you do have this gut-brain connection. And often you see patients that have symptoms in their nervous system also have gut issues. And by addressing the gut and healing that really helps their nervous system issues to get better more quickly. Frankincense, again, he was burning it, but also giving to him the essential oil, calming the nervous system, reducing inflammation, boosting the immune system. Sweet orange for the Lyme, and then patchouli, draining dampness, calming emotions. Pine, strengthening the immune system, dampness. Rosemary, that helps release things out of the system, strengthen the immune system. Sandalwood, again, drain dampness, emotions, help the liver. And then also lang lang. That's very calming, strengthening, and helps with clearing some passages. Okay. And then also, we adjusted his liposomal brain remedy to include hemp oil, which is CBD oil, which decreases pain. He didn't have pain, but we use it for pain in other patients. Inflammation, anxiety, depression. Huperzine again, that's a repeat. And then tribulus, which also helps with the hormonal kind of normalizing the hormones, increasing brain function and sleep. Eucommia bark, which helps fortify the brain, lower stress, increases the adrenals. And then epimedium, which is also called horny goatweed, which again for normalizing hormones and increasing mental acuity. So kind of one of the recommendations for practitioners I have is it's a lot of stuff that we do. Taking it all in is overwhelming. How to just say, hey, let's try essential oils a couple at a time, and using whatever testing method that works for you, whether it's muscle testing, pulse diagnosis, electrodermal scanning if you have that, or intuition, whatever it is, to use and select oils for your patients. You can match ones that match symptoms, match infections or issues, and then implementing singles at a time can be helpful. And then as you understand the properties of singles, then you can begin combining and understanding how they can work well together. So that's a kind of a strategy for incorporating this information. So many challenges, whether it be in the nervous system, whether it be in the sinuses, whether it be in the gut, whether it be infections, toxins, inflammation, that can affect the nervous system in people with Lyme. And using essential oils and these other remedies to help nourish the nervous system, move out, go after the pathogens, clear the toxins and inflammation, can be a very positive, effective strategy for patients that, have tried many other protocols or drug regimens and are still struggling. So now I want to talk a little bit about an upcoming training that I'll be offering starting this Friday for practitioners and people who work with essential oils with people. And what I'll be sharing is how I use essential oils to help people with all sorts of infections, Lyme, co-infections, parasites, viral infections. And it'll go for 6 weeks. And they'll go from 3 to 4 p.m. And we're going to be covering how to use this goose syndrome strategy to look at what are the unique ways of diagnosing what am I dealing with here, because it can be a very confusing mess when someone comes in with brain fog, fatigue, and joint pain. It's how do I be more targeted and address what are the real underlying issues? So using different signature symptoms can be helpful to kind of saying, oh, that may be a protozoa, or that might be a bacterial, that might be a spirochete or viral. And so we'll go over that. And I'm gonna get a drink of water here. And then we'll go more into detail about goose syndrome to kind of how do you, use this, paradigm to make sense, clear out the confusion, and then also how to make essential oils internally. You can give them sublingually, do them rectally, do them other ways, and also how do you make them into liposomes? Because those are I think one of the game changers we're going to be seeing in medicine. Many more liposomal remedies coming out, and also to stop infections, detoxify, clear inflammation, and different systems of the body, and then also which ones help with the gut. And that because of the gut-brain connection. And then also, how do you get these things into those hiding areas, under the biofilms, and the ones that are hiding into the cells, and begin to use those to clear out these infections. One brief story is I worked with this woman who had been using essential oils like many years longer than I have. She had been taking them internally, done them topically. She worked on with her patients, and she said, how can you get them deeper into my brain, my nervous system? And she had been taking them sublingually for a long time. It's for a formula I gave her, but she said, I need something deeper. So I made it into a liposome, gave it to her, and she drank it, right when I gave it to her. And it was like, she went, whoa, what was that? And I said, what happened? She goes, this felt like this light just shot through my head. And I said, well, what's the difference between when you take them under your tongue, when you take them in this new form? And she goes like, well, when you take them under the tongue, they kind of get in, but they kind of go around the cell. But when you take them in this new form, it feels like this shoots right into the middle of the cell. And so, that's kind of one anecdotal evidence, but that's how we find really helps get into those deep, stubborn symptoms that are persisting and making a difference there. Hey, let's talk about laser bonus question number 2. Okay, so we'll go over that, and I'll talk a little bit more after we do the question. So let's have you put your answer into the Facebook discussion there. Okay. And let me, why I not like, all right, good. So I'm making a little marker on Facebook saying there is the demarcation line for looking at bonus question 2. All right, so this is gonna, as I said, I'm gonna ask you a question about essential oils because that's what we're talking about mainly today. So there are essential oils I gave this patient to drain dampness, replenish blood, that help with reducing the symptoms of fuzzy thinking. Name 2 of those 6 oils in the Facebook thread, and the first person to name correctly 2 of the 6 oils will get the bonus. Okay. All right, so let's see what Facebook has to say. All righty. All right, some people are on it. Wow. You are on it, you guys. All right, woohoo. We have a winner. It looks like Mary with the answer of fur and hyssop was like on it. You rocked it out there, girl. All right, so the correct answer is carrot seed, cinnamon bark, lemongrass, hyssop, eucalyptus, or fir, 2 of those 6. So thank you for participating in that. And I hope that was somewhat fun for you guys to do. So we'll also be talking about in the training how to use a laser that you'll be getting. If you sign up for the course, we will give you a laser and give you essential oils to use with that laser because we feel it's been such a great benefit to our patients. And so how do you use that? How do you use it and deal with the nervous system, the gut, how you deal with the whole system? How do you paint the whole person with these frequencies so that they can really take that healing deeper in? And we'll go over methods of doing that. We'll go over case studies like I went over here every time, new case study, new ways of using essential oils to address different issues, whether it be gut issues, brain issues, different infections, could be bladder issues with interstitial cystitis. Essential oils, using them rectally have been great for helping some people with their bladder, persistent bladder problems that aren't responding. Okay, and so also you also get a year in a confidential group with other people who have taken the training, and you get the benefit from sharing information with them, asking questions about oils, or reading about different previous trainings that have been given, because we've given trainings on different other infections like Bartonella babesia, parasites, viral infections, leaky gut, central nervous system infections, things like that. So there's a whole library of recordings that you get access to. when you take the training. And then again, so if you sign up, you will get one of the laser essential oil kits. I really want to help as many people to get this knowledge as possible, because I feel it can make a huge difference in so many people who, maybe aren't near a Lyme practitioner, but, they have people who really want to help them, whether it be, natural practitioners, or essential oil practitioners. So in previous trainings, we had doctors, chiropractors, acupuncturists, massage therapists, essential oil people, practitioners, nurses, so many different kinds of people who really feel a passion around helping the people with Lyme. So that is, I think, come back here. All right, so that's it. What I'm going to do now is go back through any questions you have about the training. I'm going to scan back through the list of questions, and we'll kind of run through that. And if you have more questions, please post them into the Facebook discussion. That would be where I will be looking. And also, if there's any in the chat, I'll get to those last. Okay. All right, lots of comments here. Woohoo! All right, here we go. All right, we have a question from T. Brands of essential oils to be safe for internal use. Original Swiss Aromatics is one that we highly recommend, because that's what they are been researched as and used for. So those are the ones that we recommend. We only buy ones that are made from organic or wild crafted source materials, and so they are one of the best. What is the best text on Amazon for science-based use of internal dosing of essential oils? Essential Oil Safety by Tisserand, 2nd edition, is one of the great things. Hi, Joanna. Sorry, you grew up in Maryland too. That's awesome. We use something called the Zyto Elite scan for the electrodermal scan, and we've been working with a company for 5 years to create customized scanning ability to look at stealth infections, leaky gut, functional medicine issues, homeopathic kind of paradigm issues, Chinese medicine issues. So we have many things that we've had customized that we use, and the scan takes like an hour and a half to 2 hours to kind of look at what are the different aspects of challenges that people are having and getting to the underlying issues, whether it be on a genetic level, infections, toxins, inflammation, organ systems, things like that. Okay. Do I know anyone in Northern California who's doing this kind of work? I don't know of any off the top of my head, but if other people do, they can post that in the Facebook. Have an underlying condition such as methylation of sulfur, citric acid causes may be blocked and tested, but this results were inconclusive. Based upon, well, there's genetic testing, which kind of shows like, hey, you may be missing, or you are missing these genes that will affect your methylation or detoxification pathways. And then there's epigenetics, which is like, are these active in creating a problem, or are they still not? And so we look at that, not only the genetics, but also how's the manifestation showing up, and looking at what are the potential underlying issues that are most important to address first to help a person detoxify, clear inflammation, reduce symptoms. So yeah, that's part of what we do. When we've seen people who've been to 8 different Lyme docs, and we've seen people who've been to the big medical places that are still and are still struggling. Okay, got that. What does the client say? Do not soy use less than soy. There's lecithin from soy and there's lecithin from sunflower. It depends on what the client, one, if they're sensitivity to soy, then obviously we don't use it, we use sunflower, or if they're, we test them for both. So, what is the name of the microparticle detoxification supplement? It is called PCA. It is no longer available. Does dry cupping come anywhere close to wet cupping in terms of the benefits? In my experience, that wet cupping, you're pulling out, like I have patients that I think the record is 27 cups. So you're looking at maybe like 27 teaspoons or tablespoons of stuff being pulled out of the body and not recirculating, making a huge difference in patients that that I have not seen with dry cupping. Yes, mitosynergy has been helpful for mitochondrial support. Patients seem to tolerate it fairly well. Also, we use, good question, Scott, herbs that tonify the Jing. So there's different like polygonums, lyce, romania, that help replenish a deeper level of energy. What type of CBD oil were you using? I believe there's an organically produced CBD oil. I think it's called Irie, I-R-I-E. Let's see. Do you use intranasal lasers? We use intranasal LEDs. UV light therapy for vitamin D support. We don't have currently that at our center. Other devices we can talk about. What at-home tool do you find most helpful for patients to incorporate? That would be a long discussion. Detoxification support would be one of the most common things. So many patients will have the saunas, the biomats, things that help them to, get the toxins out and then reduce their inflammatory compounds. So many of my patients have Rife machines, and several have found, even though they have Rife, that the microcurrent, because of its ability to target like the bladder or the brain or specific, regions of the brain, has been something that they've been willing to invest in and got great benefit out of. So those are kind of off the top of my head. Can I recommend a doctor in Europe who's working this way? No, I don't know of any doctors in Europe who would work this way. Alrighty, so I will refresh that and see any other questions. All right. Can you purchase laser and oils from you? Let's private message us if you're a healthcare practitioner. Yes, that should be fine. But we'll talk to you. I've got your name there. Can you recommend a link that we could use to learn more? There's goodbyelyme.com. Under free articles, you'll see a lot of free articles in there. And if other of you have been there before and you like the articles, you can say, yes, thumbs up, good articles. If it's, if you haven't been there, then please check it out. I will post that in the Facebook group if I responds. All right, next question. Best text on Amazon. Okay, we already answered that question. That's the Tisserand book, Essential Oil Safety. How long do you apply bee venom? Isn't it a paste? It can, we use it in two forms. One that's snorted into the nervous system, and another one that's in a lotion that then is absorbed. And using live bees, yes, there's apitherapy, but most of my patients are like totally resistant to getting stung by bees because, they're not really crazy about the acupuncture needles themselves, but if I can deliver the venom without the sting, then they prefer that way. So that's why we do it topically and snorting it. But yeah, apitherapy is awesome. A lot of my patients will do that, especially those with like MS or other issues. Okay, things for sleep. Well, it really depends on what are the underlying issues in the sleep. If it's like physical pain issues that are keeping a person awake, then obviously you need to deal with the pain. If it's like too much nervous system activity, then there are a couple remedies that we use with this person, like 5-HTP, kava kava, and some of the essential oils like German chamomile, Roman chamomile, lavender really help calm and help the person to settle into a more deeper state of sleep. Actually, I had one person in here, she was having a bad Herxheimer reaction from her antibiotics, and she came in like she was feeling terrible, and I was about to like put some lavender essential oil on her, and the cap came off, and this huge, like probably like, a quarter of a cup of essential oil of lavender splashed over her. We both were laughing, but she goes, whoa, that was like immediate relief. So these oils, they can work very quickly. And obviously don't do what I did and have the cap on tight. And when you're putting on your patients, have I experienced using Young Living Thieves oil? No, I don't use Young Living. What kind of laser we're using? I think it's a 650 nanometer 5 milliwatt red laser. As a possible, if you can't take the training, we'll talk to you. Can you take all EO by capsule? It depends on the essential oils. It depends on, in my opinion, if I'm going to take something internally, I want to get the, something that doesn't have things in it that may be impurities or additives or chemicals. So that's why I recommend original Swiss aromatics. How to best use sweet orange essential oil topically to address Lyme and biofilms? Well, the challenge is that when you start going after biofilms, it's kind of like you release the stuff under the biofilms. So that's why in the beginning of the goose syndrome, you're reducing inflammation, toxicity, helping heal the different symptoms, the nervous system, pain, so the person feels better. So when you start clearing the biofilms and things come out, the person can handle the toxins, inflammation, pathogens that are then released. Because many of my patients, when they've done anti-biofilm like enzymes on their own or like EDTA, they've been hit really hard with symptoms because, in my opinion, they're releasing a lot of stuff that it was like their systems were like overloaded and couldn't process it all. So they felt worse. So we want to avoid that as much as possible, unless we have these people who are like, yeah, I don't care, let's do it. Yeah, hit me as hard as you can. I'm like, well, you sure? So we'll kind of, we don't necessarily encourage that. Do we have experience with CCSVI? Yes, we have patients that have been diagnosed with CCSVI, and what we'll do is based upon what either the Doppler scan shows up, where the blockages are, then we encourage them. They can put the topical bee venom on or essential oils that have anti-biofilm, and if they think they have like a protozoa infection, say like that is creating biofilms. Actually, I think protomyxozoa is one of the ones that Dr. Fry is now classifying as a fungal, not a protozoa. So maybe the name will change, but that's when it's hyperbiofilm producing ones. So depending on what it is, then we'll, test a person for those and have them put it on the specific arteries which are blocked. And then also there's, different enzymes that will also cut through biofilms. Okay, let's see, any other questions on the thread? All right, we got a thumbs up on the articles. Thank you, Mamie. There are intensive treatment programs at your center potentially for out-of-town patients. Yes, we work with people from internationally and all over the U.S. And how to best give essential oils for mold toxicity, rectally, topically, laser, or on the body? Well, it really depends on, is it a mold toxicity issue, or is there actually mold growing in patients, because it can grow in the sinuses and the intestines, and some unfortunate people have it systemically. And the die-off from that can be quite uncomfortable, and many patients need a lot of detoxification support homeopathics, to help clear the toxins out. And also there's different remedies to help go in the cells and clear stuff out, like phosphatidylcholine. Let's see, does anyone do this like in New York City? I don't know of anybody who does this in New York City. Where can you have bee venom? We'll talk to you about that. I do not recommend it as a do-it-yourself unless you have someone who can help you with a Herxheimer reaction. It can be pretty intense, very intense for some people. And other people are kind of like, it's okay, or it didn't have a big reaction. But, we've had several patients that, had 2 weeks of intense Herxheimer reactions based on just doing it topically. So it can be like a real butt kicker remedy. All right, so let's go. And so, sorry, I'm a little over time, but is this useful? Is this helpful? Is there new stuff in here? So if there's something useful or new, please feel free to let me know, because, I could blab on for a long time, as you know, but I really want to give you stuff that's, going to help you. So maybe if you just put in, if, essential oils for, liver detoxification was helpful or whatever, please share one thing that was useful. And now I'm going to go and look at some other questions that here, and I'll run through those. And thanks for staying on later than I did. Okay. Okay, lots of neurological symptoms. Let's see. The oils are used together, or is all individual options? They are used together in a formula, sublingual and also liposomally, where they drink them. Oregano oil or oil of oregano. There's always seems to be, this is oregano essential oil. Okay. We'll be sending a replay. Yes, there'll be a replay posted, hopefully either today or tomorrow, and it'll be up until Friday. You have to be an LMDRM to take the training note. As I mentioned, you can be, a different kind of person that likes to help people with essential oils, So use any allopathic medicines or refer people to doctors which prescribe. Yes, I refer people to doctors which prescribe. Yes, I'll be sending the slides again, video link. Yeah, the replay will come out again. Can you tell me what EO line you use? I covered that. Infrared saunas are helpful. Yes, they can be very helpful. However, with some patients that are highly toxic and have trouble detoxifying, then I recommend people start slow and increase as, because as you also heat up, you also kill off infections, release toxins, you increase inflammation, and you can feel worse if you spend too much time in a sauna. So let's see, how do I address heavy metal toxicity? Okay, so we use different agents to bind to different toxins, whether it be supplements, homeopathics, or refer out to doctors that do chelation and other treatments. How are you different from Buhner's protocol? Well, we do liposomal remedies, we do essential oils, we do microcurrent, we do cold laser, we do Chinese herbs, Ayurvedic herbs. We mostly have organic, wild-crafted source herbs because we don't want to have any contaminants. And also, if we do get some that are from China, we use companies that do extensive testing, laboratory testing, to make sure there isn't any sort of crap in there. Because I take my own herbs too, and I don't want to get any of that stuff in there. Let's see. Lyme diagnosed fibromyalgia, where do you go from here? Well, it depends on where you are, who is near you, who can help you. It's really the most important thing, I think, in the beginning is getting an accurate, like, what are the most important things to deal with, whether it be, usually it's toxins, inflammation first in my patients, and infections, maybe later down the road, or maybe that it may not be Lyme, it may be Epstein-Barr virus that is what's causing, the most problems. Because when you kill off the bigger germs and bugs, then they release the smaller ones that are hidden inside. I think they're called endosymbionts when they live inside, kill the parasites off, and then it releases all the bacteria and viruses into the system. So that often is the case. So it's really dealing with the biggest issues first, and then helping the person to feel better. So I hope that's a helpful answer, but get on Facebook, passwords and working. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, I talked about that. What brand? Does this work for chronic Lyme without antibiotic use at all? Yes, we have patients that have not done any antibiotics, and yes, we do them in conjunction with antibiotics, because in my area there's about 20 plus different Lyme literate docs, and we see patients from every one of them. Okay, looks like useful information on the essential oils for specific assistance, draining dampness, reducing inflammation. Wish I had access to seeing you. Okay. All right. Can you go send the recorded webinar to go slower? Yeah. How long's the waiting list? Our waiting list is probably about 3 to 4 weeks. And we'll contact you, Sharon, about, the details involved with that. All right, and any other questions? I will go back to Facebook again and see. Otherwise, so really appreciate your listening, and, would love to hear that, it's helpful. What was helpful? One thing you got out of it, or just a thumbs up, woohoo, all right, yay. And, okay. Here's some more questions. Where can I get liposomal brain purchased, or any of the oils in liposomal form? We are pretty much the only people that make custom liposomal remedies, and according to FDA guidelines, you need to be a patient of ours for us to give you these remedies, because we give you some, you have a reaction, then we didn't do our due diligence in assessing you, and we're liable. But if we have a ability to do a proper intake, then FDA says, you've done your due diligence. Okay, it's helpful. Foot bags, helpful. Reliable essential oil info is priceless. Okay, good. How do you make liposomes technique? That will be covered in the training that begins on Friday. And if you are so inclined, I would really love to have you on there, because it's a kind of a complex process and requires, different equipment and training and stuff like that. Okay, thanks. Good. What oil is used for being stuck? Well, there's many different ones. Depends on what's causing the stuckness. If it's stuck chi, then you want to use a moving chi one, or if it's, stagnant blood, then something that helps move the blood, maybe like Angelica. So it depends on what the underlying issue is, and then addressing it with the remedies. How we decide how many drops to use in our essential oil formulas? We use different testing methods, whether it be the electrodermal scan to determine that, and also kind of coming up with a formulation based upon our experience with patients, and also kind of an intuitive checking in with that, how much to include. What one item would I recommend to increase the immune system? I like medicinal mushrooms. I use a lot of those in formulas for immune system support. Are any liposomes available to purchase? Don't live near you. Only if you're a patient. What do you recommend for fuzz? Where structural musculoskeletal blockage issues, where infections have destroyed cartilage. Yeah, hands-on therapies are awesome. Osteopathic, chiropractic, with someone who is, knows how to help with that. There are collagen replenishing remedies like Romania that we use to help patients with that. So it really depends on, is there an infection that needs to be dealt with that's destroying the cartilage? If it's a genetic issue, how do we then address it? Okay. Yes, the training will be recorded for those who can't attend, do it live. What fungal infections have I seen co-infection with Lyme, like Aspergillus, Stradivarius? That's a good one. There's several other ones. Those are the two ones that come off. Candida, obviously, one of them. So those are the ones. And there's some weird ones that came up on, some people did something called pathogenous for their bladder infections. And they had some like really strange ones I never heard of, like, you find on rocks in the Aegean Sea or something like that. It's just, okay. Alrighty. So thank you all for those people who are still on. And if you have more questions, please post that into the Facebook group. And I really appreciate your listening and your feedback. And I hope that this is helpful for you. And if you have practitioners that could really benefit from this knowledge and wisdom, please refer them to the link at goodbyelyme/training, goodbyelyme.com/training. So anyway, thank you all. And I'll say have a happy, good rest of your day. And I'll see, hopefully, some of you in the training that starts this Friday. Alrighty, take care. Bye-bye.